Hey everyone, and welcome to this explainer. I am absolutely thrilled to have you here today. Since I know we're all focused learners who love getting straight to the heart of a topic, we're going to jump right in. Today we're unpacking something that can literally transform the culture of any workplace overnight. We're talking about mastering accountability, not as some rare, scary event, but as an everyday leadership tool. Building an atmosphere of true accountability is absolutely crucial for a smoothly operating team, and today we've got a fantastic practical roadmap to show us exactly how to pull it off. So let's just address the elephant in the room right off the bat, shall we? Have you ever felt like accountability is really just a polite corporate way of talking about punishment? It's a super common fear, and it makes so many of us shy away from holding our teams accountable. But honestly, that mindset is completely backwards.
To flip that mindset, we're going to explore a framework that turns accountability into a culture of ownership and deep trust. We'll start by untangling the difference between accountability and discipline. Then, we're going to walk through the 5 steps to get this right: setting clear expectations, setting up for success, having clear measurements, delivering clear feedback, and finally, outlining clear consequences. And a quick heads up, missing even one of these steps creates a massive gap that accountability will just fall right through.
All right, first up, accountability versus discipline. We really need a fundamental shift in how we view leadership and responsibility here.
Because, there's actually a stark contrast between the two. Think of accountability as the proactive system you are building every single day. It's all about clarity, support, fairness, and consistency. Discipline, on the other hand, that is merely the reactive consequence that happens when an employee actively chooses not to meet those well-established expectations. Accountability empowers people. Discipline is just the result of a breakdown.
And that brings us to this incredibly handy 5-step roadmap. It's essentially a daily self-check framework. Our ultimate goal is to prevent those breakdowns from ever happening in the first place. But hey, if accountability issues do crop up, you can simply backtrack through these steps and pinpoint exactly where the breakdown happened.
Okay, step 1, clear expectations. This is literally the bedrock of the entire system. Because if you miss this first step, it creates cracks everywhere else down the line. I mean, you can't hold someone accountable for something they never clearly understood in the first place, right?
You know the saying, clarity prevents confusion? Well, it is 100% true. Strong leaders lay out exactly what success looks like. And to do that, you should use this simple, incredibly effective formula. I expect X, and by X, I mean Y. It leaves absolutely zero room for assumptions.
Let's play this out. If you just tell a team member to be on time, that is way too vague. Do they think that means pulling into the parking lot at 9 a.m.? Instead, get specific. Use the formula. Try saying, I expect you to be on time. By on time, I mean clocked in, at your workstation, having already grabbed a coffee and physically ready to pack boxes by your scheduled start time. See the difference there? Crystal clear.
But hey, clarity isn't just about the what, it's equally about the why. You've got to connect the dots for them. Why does this task matter? How does their specific role fit into the big picture? For instance, an employee might look at packing snack sacks as a totally mundane junior task, but the second you show them that without their teamwork, those snacks don't make it to the school and children might literally not have food that evening, boom, suddenly they understand the deep importance of what they're doing.
Moving right along to step 2, setting up success. Once expectations are perfectly clear, this is where you, as a leader, really have to step up to the plate.
You have got to set your team up for a win by providing 4 non-negotiable elements. You must ensure they have the training, the actual tools, and the supplies they need to get the job done. Then you have to verify they actually understood that training, and you need to monitor their performance early on. You don't want to make it so easy that they're bored, but you have to provide enough support so that hitting the goal is highly achievable.
Picture this. A van driver is having a really tough time figuring out how to load everything to make a single trip. A great supportive leader doesn't just stand there and watch them fail. They step in. Maybe they create a quick cheat sheet showing exactly how to stack the boxes so everything fits perfectly. It's your job to make sure they know exactly how to access the support they need.
So before you ever point the finger at someone for falling short, you have to stop and ask yourself a really hard question. Have I done my part as a leader to make this possible? It's a crucial self-check because you never ever want to confuse someone's lack of preparation or resources with them just being unwilling to do the work. All right, on to step 3, clear measurements. Let's talk about tracking all of this.
Consider a very specific number, like 120. Say the goal is packing 120 bags per person per hour. Now that is a perfect example of a tangible, measurable outcome. You can't just measure effort. Effort is completely subjective. You need cold, hard evidence to know if your team is actually on track.
You absolutely have to ditch those vague goals for quantifiable milestones. Instead of yelling, "Hey, get the meals out fast," you measure the scheduled delivery times, or you make sure meals are ready before the actual serve time. Skilled leaders help their teams track these metrics, and they schedule quick daily check-ins to monitor the progress. That way, if things start slipping, you can address it immediately with real solutions.
Which brings us to step 4, clear feedback and communication. You've got the data now, so what are you going to do with it?
Well, first off, feedback cannot wait for some formal annual review. If you set a rule but don't say anything when you see it broken, you're basically telling your team that the task wasn't actually that important. Feedback has to be immediate and fact-based. If you have a strict no cell phones policy and you see Jane texting, clear feedback means reminding her of the policy in that exact moment and firmly asking her to put it away until her break.
You know, dodging conflict isn't actually kind at all. It's totally detrimental to your culture. There's a great saying, it's just as important to be helpful as it is to be nice. Having a calm, firm, totally honest conversation about why a goal wasn't met is infinitely better than just ignoring it. Yes, positive feedback is crucial when things go well, but being genuinely helpful sometimes requires giving that tough corrective feedback to build a trusting relationship.
And finally, step 5, clear consequences. This is what happens when all those previous steps are firmly in place, but you're still not getting the right results.
At this stage, you really have 3 paths, the 3 R's. If you've been clear and supportive, you've done your part. So now you either repeat the steps if you find out there is genuine confusion, reward them if they're knocking it out of the park, or release them if accountability is consistently absent. And hey, releasing them might mean shifting their role entirely, or it might mean beginning progressive discipline.
So how does this actually sound in real life? Say John keeps forgetting to pack ice in the totes, and the milk temperatures are rising. You've already trained him, you've measured it, and you've given him feedback. Now you clearly outline the consequence. John, we have discussed this before. The next time you don't follow proper procedures, I will have to issue a written warning. This puts the decision squarely back on John's shoulders. Discipline is just the fair consequence of a choice he makes. It is not a guilt trip for you to carry.
The bottom line is that consequences give your expectations weight. Without them, accountability is literally impossible. But remember, accountability is not punishment. If you use this 5-step system every single day, you're fundamentally empowering your employees. You're guaranteeing that every person knows exactly what's expected and has the exact tools they need to achieve it.
So let's wrap this up with a question for you to chew on today. Look inward for a second. Which of these 5 steps do you personally need to strengthen the most to empower your team? Do you need to set clearer expectations? Maybe give more prompt feedback? I highly encourage you to take this supportive framework and apply it to your own leadership style right now. Thank you so much for hanging out with me in this explainer, and I absolutely cannot wait to see how you build a culture of true ownership.